Hello, and welcome back to the Campfire. Today we are joined with, yet again, the cactus on the starry night. So, cactus, do you have another story for me today?
I've got a story. This is a story that many have asked me to continue ever since I started telling stories. It tells of the continuation of the party that one Mal Kashar and Jor-Al found themselves in and soon split from before they met their untimely ends. That remained in the party were Elise, a ninja, and Zed, a werewolf. Many have wondered what happened to them when they split off from Malkashar and Jor-Al in the cave, and that's where we'll pick up this story. They continue to feel around in the dark, looking for the goblins that they were supposed to be hunting. Found them, but they were a bit overrun and they had to make a quick escape. As they ran into two rangers who were contracted to also deal with the goblins by a separate adventuring guild. These rangers were, I believe, an elf named something that started with an L that everyone just called Larry because that was an easier way to say his name.
As you do with elven names.
Yes. And then a kitsune woman and her wolf. I believe her wolf's name was Tsukide and her name was Neith. And people love to say Neith, Neith, like in the Holy Grail, the Knights of Neith. Beneath Tsukide and this other ranger named everyone called Larry met up with Zed and Elise. But none of these were my characters. So where did my character come in? Right? Malkashar died. I needed to make someone new. So I decided to bring in a man named Limdul, the necromancer. Limdul was captured by the goblins and was in a cell with some other people who were very scared, some farmers. There were some dead bodies around in the cell, and Limdul decided to not waste time and made one of those dead bodies his corpse companion. And as he waited for an opportunity to present itself, he started to gather his magic so that he could raise more skeletons on the fly. He was able to create 3 undead and have a jailbreak orchestrated the moment the goblins had come to feed them and take one of the people away for the fighting. And seen the fighting pits, didn't really want to, ended up killing the goblins and trying to make his escape. And as he was traveling out to this mine shaft with 2 skeletons flanking him, he met up with the approaching 4 people from the party that he had not met before, but we are now all familiar with. So Limdul realized how this must look. A very tall, gaunt man with facial hair, a little bit scraggly, and with 2 skeletons as he's walking with his scythe and cowl. Doesn't look too friendly, so he decided to offer some words of diplomacy, sat on the ground, explained the situation. Everything seemed to be going well, and Elise took to him pretty easily, as did Zed. The Rangers were a little bit more wary, but they knew they were going to need allies to take down the goblins, so they didn't feel too bad about it. Goblin pursuers came down the mine shaft, chasing Limdul. One of them was called a goblin headhunter, and he had humanoid heads on a bandolier around his body. He shot a crossbow bolt, and it landed in Limdul's back, dealing about half his health and damage. Limdul freaked out, turned around, and took another one to the chest and promptly passed out. Thankfully, his skeletons, while everyone took a moment to escape, took out the goblin headhunter who was riding atop a giant scorpion, as well as some goblins on wargs. And after recuperating, decided to go back to town until they were ready to take on these mines. Now, when they got to town, unfortunately ran into some issues. Uh, Elise got arrested because Elise is a thief and was causing some trouble. So everyone else escaped the town, but Limdul came back to free Elise from her bond. So Limdul went in, snuck over, was able to free her, get her ship back, and they were able to escape through the sewers. Limdul spends his time around undead, so he's very used to the smells of the sewers, but the stink was a bit too much for Elise, who ended up puking the entire way back. The worst part, though, is by the time they were about to get back to the party, some more people arrived to cause trouble for them. You see, the ranger, the elven man, whose name started with an L, Larry, was not comfortable working alongside a werewolf, a ninja assassin, and a necromancer, so he left and promptly teamed up with a werewolf hunter named Ferdinand, along with a traveling wizard named Frederick Barrington. Ferdinand, the werewolf hunter, Frederick Barrington, the wizard, and Larry, the party, while Elise and Limdul were indisposed. They were after Zed, was not one to go down lightly. Zed transformed and began combat against them, but the werewolf hunter was smart. I mean, he had silvered weapons, silvered bolts. He knew exactly what he needed to do to take down a werewolf like Zed. And just as things seemed dire for the wolf, and as Neith was fighting her former ally, Larry, Elise and Limdul returned and turned the tides, using his necromantic magic to Ferdinand and to assassinate Elise, assassinated Larry and killed him pretty promptly. Frederick Barrington, who was supporting the whole time, put his hands up and surrendered and said, "Look, I only helped them because he offered to help me fight these goblins in this mine up north." Everybody looked at each other. That's where they were headed next. He said, "Well, we are headed towards the mines. You want to go there?" He said, "Yes." "Are you okay? I'll just sided with them. I didn't realize that they were weak as hell. I'd rather be with the stronger people anyway." Frederick joined the team. So now the team looked like Zed, Elise, Limdul, Neith, and Frederick Barrington. A team of 5. They decided to rest one more night because they were a bit still tired from the jailbreak and from the attempted assassination. Companion arrived to help them, a rogue sword master, a Tengu, which is the Pathfinder version of a Kenku. They're a little bit more powerful, though. They can transform and shapeshift. Master had heard about the exploits of this group and wanted to join. So this party of 6 entered the mines. These goblins. Now, why were they so intent? Well, Frederick Barrington explained why so high. There was a woman, only known as the Mistress, and the Mistress had taken control of these mines and these goblins somehow. Something that a humanoid like her shouldn't be able to do, but some sort of magic was allowing her to control them. He didn't know what, but his order of wizards needed whatever was giving her this power back because it wasn't hers to own. It was stolen. Doing this, the group decided to take one more foray into the mines, and when they did, they were fighting their way down through this empty dwarven city that was now being goblins and their families, but they were surrounded. They were able to take out all the goblins in this empty city, but not without their health and well-being. By the end of the encounter, they were hiding out in a small dwarven house, and as they were attempting to rest, opening about, we'll say, 40-foot wide, 30-foot high. This cavernous opening with only darkness in its depths. They could hear claps echoing down. Everyone got onto high alert, drew their weapons and their staves, and looked out the window, or what was left of it anyway. And in came this sorceress, wearing a tiara and an elegant dress, surrounded by a legion of goblins. She said, "Well, well, well. Seems you've gotten pretty far, but seems you've also tired yourselves out. Now we could just go in and kill you now, but it'd be much more entertaining for you to surrender and try to earn your freedom in the pits. What say you?" Not having much choice, the group surrendered the cells that Limdul had escaped from. But this time, they were at a higher level and could look down out of the cells into the fighting pits. They could actually see what they were looking into. The fighting pits was exactly what it sounds like, a small gladiatorial arena that is inset into this area. And each concentric ring above the pit, and on the top floor, directly across from their cells, was the balcony to which the mistress observed these fights for her. They got to see, over the course of the next day, as they all healed up, they got to see people go into the pits, mostly civilians, and they saw what they would have to face: a bearded devil, otherwise known as a barb, by ethereal chains. This
what?
Barbazoo,
Sorry?
a Barbazoo, a
Ah,
bearded devil,
I've
something
never
that's
heard of
none
such a
of them
thing.
were ready to face. She was able to get a Barbazoo, still anyone's guess, but she still, she had access to the magic to control an entire goblin colony, let alone this. All we could do was prepare. Limdul cast a spell called Know Your Enemy, and it revealed the Barbazoo's weaknesses, and they were able to formulate a strategy. It was their turn to enter the pits. Their strategy was enacted. Zed attempted, after a transformation, to grapple the Barbazoo, prevent him from swinging his massive glaive around. And when Zed did that, everyone took up position to try to take the Barbazoo out, send him back to his home plane. If they destroy the dimensional chains, keeping them anchored there, and she'd have no more Barbazoo and they could escape. The plan went off without a hitch. No, we've actually, I'm almost done with this part. This is the end of this first part. Plan went off without a hitch. And as they made their escape, and the goblins started firing arrows into the pits because they weren't satisfied with the outcome, the mistress decided that she was going to handle this herself. As she was about to leave her balcony, and as the party was making their escape, Frederick Barrington decided to veer off. When the party asked why, I need to do. So everybody made their escape. They ran away. Frederick, a squishy little wizard, Frederick, I should say, snuck up and rolled very well on his checks to sneak up on the mistress while she was barking orders, while she was getting ready to pursue the party. He was able to sneak up behind her and whack the tiara off of her head with his staff. He turned around and was about to fire a fireball at him. All of the goblins that were under her command suddenly were not, and attacked her immediately. She had to, for her own survival, turn the fireball away from Frederick to the goblins, giving Frederick an opportunity to grab the tiara and run. Needless to say, we were all very surprised when, at the end of the mine shaft, we saw a smoking yet still very much alive wizard, Frederick Barrington, clutching in his hands the tiara that gave her the power to control the goblins. Things only got weird. We're going to end it for tonight.
Well, thank you for this story. I hope to hear the further continuation of it. If any of you have enjoyed this, then please continue listening, as there might be more like it in the future. Enjoy your starry night sky, wherever you are. Good night.